Hey, I am back and I thought I would do a bit of some data stuff. And I'm going to use a combination of Json and scriptable objects because it just makes life so much easier. So the first thing we need to do, well first I'll show you, I made a little JSON file. And nothing much to it. And I kind of put it into a class, I guess you could say, so that you can see, I don't know, a bunch of different data. Right now, I'm not a master of this style, so you probably know more about the JSON style than I do. But anyway, so we have more or less a type of book, and then I'm just going to have chapters in the pages and say a title, right? So there's a JSON file. And to make that, I mean, you can make it anywhere. All it is a text asset, and I came into here, went into my folder, and I created a text document. And that's this thing right here. So I should make sure my volume's on because I turn it off once in a while. So what we want to do is I want to create a scriptable object. So I'm just making a new script. And get rid of all this. Get rid of that. Call this a scriptable object. And of course I need to go up here and create asset menu. And the file name equals data contain, and menu name, it really doesn't matter, books, sure, and order, oh geez, if I can spell it right, order 0. Okay, so we need to close some of these we want this data to be able to fit into here. So I'm going to make a class inside of the scriptable called book, like that. And everything is super case sensitive when it comes to this stuff, right? Like book, I'm going to make sure that these words are exactly the same. So we have integer, and string, right? So I'm going to go public int, and we have chapter. We have public int pages, or page. What did I call it? Said everything's going to be just perfect. Pages, public string title. Okay. Then we need another class. And we're going to call this books. And this class, right? So now we've more or less stated that we have an object here. It's a book, and it contains these. Okay. Now I'm creating this thing called books, and books contains think this is where, so the spelling is kind of an iffy thing. I think this is the one that has to match. All right, so I've had to play with this prior because it's just such a finicky thing. So then we need a public books, and we'll call this, I don't know, total. This equals a new books. All right, so that should be, now in order to, now if I just hit save on that, and if I come over and I can create books, there's my data contained, and you don't see nothing here, okay? And that's due to, we need to tell the system that, hey, we need to more or less access these. So you do like the square little brackets, and I'm going to go system dot serializable, and same thing down here, system dot serializable and serializable field. So that now we should see in our data contain, as long as I did it right, which I didn't apparently. And that's probably because I didn't make these public. So, you know, that would help. Oh, I don't know why that's up. So there's our total. So we can see total, which is this guy. And he needs to be public. Everything needs to be public in these things. Public, 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 public. Okay. Everything's public, everything's serializable. Now we have, so we have total, books, and if I look, you know, there's chapter, pages, and title, right? So now we have this block of data that can't do anything. Okay, so let's do a demo JSON import. And I'll put this in a JSON category. So now we have an FSM that we want to be able to take that JSON file and put it into a scriptable object. So the first thing we need is the main data, and we also need a text asset, not a string, a text asset, like that. So now in our FSM we can drag in this thing, and if you want to use the FSM object and go that route, you can. If you look at my other scriptable object tutorials, I show how you do that. Not necessarily needed in this situation, but whatever. So above the finish, what we need to do is data. So I'm saying our book data dot total, because that is what this guy is. So we're saying we want to fill this thing up, and this is full of this, which is this. Equals JSON utility dot from JSON with the little those things, and we need a book data dot book, I believe, or books. And then it also needs a string. So the string is the JSON file dot text of the file, like that. So what we're saying is the data total. So this guy here is equal to books data books from that file. So more or less what this is in the JSON version. Right, so now if I hit save, we should have, I can put an FSM somewhere, and I can go here, and it wants our from our data container and our JSON file. Now if I hit play, if I look into our data container, I should now see we have all of the data from this guy. We've now imported all of the JSON data into a scriptable object. Okay, so that's cool, but what the hell can we do with it? So I'm going to show you one more little thing, and we're going to say this can also be under that same category, and this will be search, or we'll say demo search books. And there's going to be numerous ways to set this up. So it needs a reference to the book data, right? Which is where you might want to use a variable for all these, and that way you can just use an object variable and pass it along. So just watch the other tutorials and how you set that up. So it's not necessarily needed though. Okay, so let's, for example, public, I don't know, FSM string search, and let's get public FSM int I don't know, pages. Well, we can do them all if we wanted to. We don't need to do just the one. So if we search, then what we need to do is we want to say we want to fill this pages with one of the things, a specific thing from that data. So we need an integer down here in the enter, and we'll call this the, I don't know, selector, and it equals 0. Now we need to do a small loop. So I'm going to say for bracket I. It's just a number, doesn't mean anything. Oh no, I need int I. So we're making an int called I, and it equals 0. I'm going to end that statement and then go I is less than data dot total dot book. Or maybe it's just total. Oh no, dot length. That's right. You gotta actually be an integer. Right? Then I plus plus. Now these are typically kind of confusing to first learn. So it's a lot easier just to copy and paste. But more or less, we're making an integer. We're telling it 0. And if the integer is below the total amount of books that we have in our data block, that we want to run some code, add 1 to the integer, and then run the code, and just keep running the code, and we more or less loop through the entire data block. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if data dot total dot book, then we need to use those little brackets there, and we're going to insert our I. So now as we're looping through our array, we're at this stage of the array, which is that value, and we're going to say dot we'll say title. You can use anything. If you want to use the pages or whatever, it don't matter, is equal, so you need 2 of those, to search dot value. We need to do something, and all we're going to do is selector equals I, right? So if the search value is equal to the title of something in that list, we're going to get whatever it is, the value of where in that list it is, and then at the end, pages dot value equals data dot total dot book, those same things, but now we're going to pass in the selector dot and what are we getting? Pages, just like that. So now we have this importing of the JSON file. We can come over, or you can do it in that same state. It doesn't really matter. And we're going to say search books. So it wants that same data container, right? So it knows what we're searching. And the search field, I don't know why these are grayed out. I probably clicked something stupid. Anyways, so what are we going to search? Let's search, since I've already got this kind of filled once, let's search that one, because we know that's a title in the book. And you could also add events to it. Maybe I'll show you how to do that too. So what we're going to do is we're going to say find this title, right, and tell me how many pages are there. So now if I hit play, it fills up, it goes over, and there's 315 pages under this title, right? And if I want to change that, go here and tell it to rerun, it's now 250, right? Which is right. So now we've created a search action that searches our scriptable object and returns whatever data we want in these little subclasses. And the subclasses are filled by our JSON file. So that's pretty cool. And then, like I said, if you wanted to add events, such as, maybe not found or something like that, you could actually, you know what, let's not use 0 to start off with. Let's use some stupid number like that. All right, so now let's do a public FSM event not found, like that. So that will equal that, and let's just say if selector equals 9999, then we know that this never happened, right? Whatever we put in the search value, it was never found. So this selector never changed this int. So its value is still going to be this, right? And if that's the case, then let's do fsm.event not found. All right, so if we have a new event, we'll say we didn't find it. I'll just use the same word, I guess. Not found, go over here. So if I see this one, it should just stay in here, right? Because it found it. Okay. And if I put in something else, it's not going to find it. So it's gone over here. So there we go. There is, oh, we have an error there. Let's see what that was, because we don't want any errors. Oh yeah, so let's do else. Let's just stuff this in the else, right? Because it can't fill a value, because it threw an error because this list doesn't have a value that high, right? So it's like, whoa, what the hell, right? So let's say, okay, if you're 99999 or whatever you want, you can throw in any number you want in here, as long as this number doesn't actually exist in your thing. All right, so if you need to make it, super big, fly at it, then it's gonna, if it matches that and this doesn't change, we throw not found. If it does matches though, then okay, well, it's not going to equal this, so now we'll run the else and do this. And if you want to throw an event in here saying, okay, we found it, move on, fly at it. So there's how we deal with some of the JSON stuff and with scriptable objects, so that you can build, I don't know, all sorts of different stuff with this, and a bit of a data structure. Maybe I'll do one later on where you can have the same thing going and be able to save backwards going into the JSON file as well. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.